Well, hello, everybody. I'm not sure how in the world. Well, I don't know what's going on here. Let's pause that music. I don't know what's going on in the background. But welcome today, folks. That was a nice start. All kinds of technical difficulties, but we've got a heck of a day ahead of us. Very dangerous day. I just wanted to take a little bit of time and yeah, talk through what's coming up today because we've had a rare high risk, not even just a rare high risk, two rare high risk issued today. One is actually centered here in Western Illinois, Southwest Iowa. This includes places like Peoria, Macomb, Illinois, Brandon Sullivan's hometown. He's actually up there chasing this high risk today. And then the southern high risk east of Little Rock, eastern Arkansas, it includes the Memphis metro area and northern Mississippi. So, and then around that gigantic moderate risk, basically from Arkansas, Missouri, Kentucky, Peoria, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa. It's a big time day ahead of us. This severe weather risk actually stretches from up here northeast of Cleveland, Ohio to Austin, Texas. This is a huge severe weather risk area. It also includes places like Atlanta, Jackson, Mississippi. You will go all the way up here. It touches Green Bay, Wisconsin. This is a large area of the country that is under a severe weather risk today. It's absolutely just a huge risk area today, to be sure. So we're like 1 minute into this, and I need a drink of water. It must be the morning, and my throat is, it's horribly dry here in Albuquerque. I will just say that the dew point is dry, and I'm having issues. So let's take a look at satellite view. Let's take a look at what's going on right now. I think that's very important to assess where we're actually going to go today. If you look here on satellite, you can see dew points are nosing up. These are actually 60 dew points that have made it all the way into Iowa late this morning, almost early afternoon in Central Time. And these 60 dew points actually stretch all the way down. You have actually up to 64 here. You can see this is the cold front that it's making its way south, that fine line of clouds. And yeah, this is going to be a day. To put it mildly. Right now, you have ongoing storms here east of the front in Arkansas. We'll take a look at the radar a little later, but those storms are ongoing as we speak, and more storms are actually forming up here in Missouri as well. Those are not fully the main show. They definitely are going to be capable of severe weather. What I'm looking for are storms forming in a few more hours. This is our early day activity was well anticipated. It should move off to the east and north, but it will be capable of severe weather as well. But the big high risk stuff comes in several hours from now, I think. So let's take a look at a couple other things here on mesoanalysis. First thing I want to point out is just the 0 to 3 kilometer cape. This enhances that tilting, stretching potential of updrafts, which allows for a greater chance of tornado formation. Looking here ahead of the low in Iowa, that's 140 0 to 3 kilometer cape. That's a really high number. I generally say over 100. Other people say 75. But once you get over those numbers, it becomes pretty favorable for tornado formation. Low levels are very unstable here north of the surface low. Also, some pretty unstable low levels here ahead of the cold front, western Missouri, eastern Kansas. Right now, that cold front's going to continue pushing east at this point. And as you can see here, cold front continues stretching down through eastern Oklahoma and just really high-end stuff. And the right now, the high risk area here in the south does not have, I mean, it's pretty stable. There's not much going on, but this atmosphere, if you watch my debrief of the rolling fork tornado, it's going to be kind of similar in a way where this atmosphere is going to go from not so favorable to very favorable in very rapid fashion. So just so you know, this is going to be a day that changes rapidly with numerous storms. And you can see this instability, low-level instability, actually stretches all the way down into Texas. Here, let me take a look. Why am I doing surface cape? I have no idea what I did. Let's go to mixed layer cape, and you can just see instability all the way from Iowa along this cold front all the way down into Texas. There'll be severe weather even down here into Texas today. I mean, it's looking pretty wild. Let's go to mesoanalysis. I better zoom out on this so we can take a look. This is the tornado EHI, which is a new thing SPC has introduced to mesoanalysis. I absolutely love this because it basically takes the classical EHI, which is basically just a measurement of helicity, which is wind shear, and instability, which is instability, or CAPE, which is instability. But this adds several other components that would mean, like, it takes into account LCL height, which is cloud-based height. It takes into account 0 to 1 kilometer shear a little bit more, so 0 to 500 meter shear. There's a lot of good stuff in this that makes it a little bit more indicative of tornadoes and where they might happen. And you can see down here in the southern part, and I'm going to get rid of this big banner so we can actually see a little bit more of the screen here. And you can see just down here in the southern part, there's already a pretty favorable environment. These storms forming right now are actually forming in that environment. So there's the tornado risk is ramping up even as we speak, but I think it's going to only increase through the day. Definitely so. And if you look here, tornado watch we've already had issued. I just want to point this out. I'm going to open up a new window actually so we can look at this. This is actually a PDS tornado watch for northern Missouri, southern Iowa, etc. Your probabilities of 2 or more tornadoes is higher than a 95%. That's an almost certainty of tornadoes in this area today. And the 2 or more strong tornadoes is 90%. That's what a PDS looks like. And looking here, I mean, it's in effect until 8 o'clock tonight. That's actually a pretty long duration watch. That's 8 hours, just about. So that's pretty long. Numerous tornadoes expected. A few intense tornadoes. Also hail up to 3 inches. That's also not nothing. And then widespread damaging wind gusts to 70 miles per hour. So, I mean, this is... I can't stress enough how big of a day this is. It's a day, honestly, I wish I could be chasing, storm chasing. If you are a follower of this channel, you know I have had ankle surgery, so I am not chasing for at least another week or two. My cast is coming off next week, and hopefully a week or so after that, I'll be chasing again. So I am on the Storm Chaser IL as we speak, but this is a really big time watch area in effect right now. Let's go back over to mesoanalysis. I just want to take a look at a couple other things. Your skew T map, it's amazing when you're live how you can't click on stuff. It's amazing. Your skew T maps, let's actually zoom in. I want people to be able to see this. It looks like good instability all through here, especially eastern Iowa. Gets a little less down here in Missouri, but it's still more than adequate for supercells and tornadoes, this activity right here. I'll pull up radar scope in a second, and we'll take a look at that. And then down here, still a big cap in place in Arkansas. You can see that right there. And so I don't think Arkansas, the southern high risk is a much later thing today. Like I said, the tornado threat's ramping up, especially up here. I think the main threat of big tornadoes is coming in the next probably about 2-3 hours from now up north and onwards from there. So this is a pretty favorable environment. Let's take a look at our hodograph map. This is made famous by friend of the Titans, Cameron Nixon. I love this map so much. And you can see the hodograph shape up north right now. It's adequate for, I mean, the more this blue area you see, the more low level helicity there is. And that's more wind shear. So, I mean, that's the simple way to read the map is the more blue you see, the higher that wind shear is. And you can see up here, it's getting there, but it's only getting stronger through the day. We'll take a look at a couple more things in mesoanalysis, but you can already see down here in Arkansas, the wind shear is already just like cranking big time wind shear. So I think when it comes to potential for tornadoes, the threat's only increasing. Take a look at our 500 millibars. You can see the core of the jet stream, the core of the mid-level jets, still back here over western Oklahoma, 110 knots, very powerful jet stream. It's moving north and east. It'll move north and east. It's going to round that corner, and by late afternoon, it's going to be nosing into this area right here, Arkansas and Missouri. So, I mean, it's all coming together, and there's also just going to be a similarly strong wind shear down here to the south too. So Right now as well, let's see. I'm kind of doing this on a whim. I put this together pretty quickly because I, honestly just wanted to get something going and to talk about this a little bit deeper. Had no time to record, so we're doing this live. So all raw and uncut today. And so you see here that divergence, that 300 millibar, that's the upper level jet also. It looks similar, pretty stacked as we speak. Let's go down here. Let's take a look at our vorticity advection. It looks like most of the lift's still hanging back here. Once this lift, this area right here, arrives over Iowa, Missouri, these storms are just going to absolutely explode. I mean, there's going to be a lot of storms very fast. We'll take a look at the HRRR here in a second to get a better feel of that. And just, surface vorticity, 0 to 3 kilometer cape, just trying to show this again. Lots of low level spin here ahead of this low, only going to get stronger, only going to get more 0 to 3 kilometer cape. As you can see on the satellite right now, still lots of sunshine up here. So that those low levels are only getting more unstable as we speak. So yeah, let's take a look at the mesoscale discussions as well. And you can see there's actually been one issued down here as well. For Arkansas, tornado watch is likely 95%. A PDS watch is coming for Arkansas as well as we speak. So let's take a look at the HRRR and let's move some things around. This is me doing things on a whim and not adjusting this. Try to go to Ohio Valley. That's not very good for the northern target. We're going to have to do two. So here we go. Midwest. And this is just, let's go back to 15Z. Fumbling over models today. It's amazing. So as you can see, the HRRR has these storms forming, increasing over the next couple of hours. These will be capable of some severe weather, but I mean, I don't think those are the main threat today. They're certainly capable of tornadoes, of course. I mean, let's take a look at the environment here at 19Z. Just a quick sounding. That is a horrific. What has happened there? I don't know. Goodness gracious. I have no idea what is up with the HRRR. Apparently there's no lower atmosphere anymore. What is going on? That's ridiculous. Oh my goodness. Well, it's amazing. Let's see over here if it's even working. Okay, well, the HRRR is broken. Congratulations, everybody. Can't even assess the atmosphere today on this live stream. Amazing. With that in mind, I'm going to go back to 14Z because I'm hoping that's fixed. Let's take a look. 19Z. Come on, be working. Okay, now we're good. That was a broken HRRR run on Pivotal Weather. Love the site, but that actually is one of the first times that's ever happened. Had to happen live. So you can see right here, 0 to 1 kilometer SRH is 221. That's about an hour from now. 2 hours. I'm getting my UTC time mixed up. This is like we're right after the time change. My brain still doesn't process that very well. Right after the time change, because that does not change. UTC stays the same while our time changes. It's an adjustment every year in March for me. But your ML Cape 1800 already just at afternoon. So this is already a tornado environment. So certainly these early storms could pose a tornado threat. But it's this stuff back here that's going to form ahead of the low that I'm especially worried about, because these are going to be just stacked right there with all that vorticity, all that spin in the upper atmosphere, all that spin in the lower atmosphere. That only helps those mesocyclones strengthen. And you can see here, I mean, the actual numbers, 129, 0 to 1 kilometer SRH is not that impressive, but the 154.3 Cape, I'm hoping you can see my mouse cursor. The 154.3 Cape is very impressive. And then your temperature dew point spreads are plenty low enough, 0 to 6 kilometer shear, 77. So this is a very highly sheared environment. You're going to get supercells initially that are going to have a very obvious tornado threat. And then you're going to have more supercells form. So these line out very quickly. You go from, these are going to line up very quickly. You have like storm, supercells line basically at this point. Very messy, probably won't get clean inflow. But then you get a secondary area here mid-late afternoon that forms. And this one, these here could actually pose a pretty significant threat of tornadoes as well. Because you can see the numbers here, 84, 260, 286, 286, 228, 3 Cape. Numbers only get more impressive and you also have very low temperature dew point spreads suddenly. So, and these also tend to line out very quickly. This is the northern target. There's just so much forcing. That 0 to 6 kilometer shear vector as well. Just let's point that out to 0 to 6. So just kind of draw a straight line there. That's your shear vector. And I'm just going to kind of do a quick guesswork, but this is your boundary. So it's actually kind of perpendicular, but so that's actually good, but your forcing is just overwhelming and you're going to just get a ton of storms that are going to form into a line. As these storms form into this line up here in the north, they're still going to pose a tornado threat along the front end, those QLCS type tornadoes, and that marches east into the Great Lakes region and on out. Down here in Missouri, about mid-late afternoon, there are more storms that look to form. Further south, it's a pretty decent environment down there too. The instability is lower, Three Capes lower. So it's not as impressive an environment between the two high risk, to be sure. And also something I wrote about in my forecast blog today that I'm actually very curious about. And I think there's probably a reason because the environment isn't as good in between these two, between the northern high risk and the southern high risk. There's no updraft helicity being generated by models really in that area. And I think that's because that environment just really falls off. So I think there's still tornadoes possible. You get a storm that actually forms into a supercell in this area. It could certainly produce tornadoes, but I do think relatively speaking, the risk is quite a bit lower here across eastern Missouri, southern Illinois. But I mean, I would certainly be paying attention to the weather today. And let's go over here to the Ohio Valley. Now let's look at the southern target. So you have these storms forming right now as we speak. Let's take a look here at the sounding, and looks just like the mesoanalysis sounding. Your 0 to 1 kilometer SRH is 313. Your turning of winds down here is a lot better than up north. They're kind of more unidirectional up north. If you recall those photographs up north, kind of were in a straight line. These kind of do take that 90-degree angle, which does indicate higher shear. This 90, where it takes this turn and kind of goes, just does that. That's a lot more favorable for tornadoes, in my opinion. Your Three Cape is lower down here. Your instability is actually about the same or lower, which is kind of interesting, but it's because you're further away from that upper low. So your lapse rates down here in the bottom of the column, that cooling of air with height is actually a lot less. So you end up with less low-level instability. So, I'm not looking at the chat. If you're asking questions, I'll try to get to that here in a second too. I just want to point that out. Your surface 6 kilometer shear is 72. This is an amazing amount of wind shear down here. So that's as of, just late morning here. You go into the afternoon. These storms still ongoing. You're going to start seeing some of them really form into supercells. That is contaminated. If you pull up a sounding, this is a pro tip, and you see that's contaminated by convection. You don't want that. So let's actually pull a box sounding to maybe get rid of that contamination and get something. Yeah, that's better. And a lot more representative, but your SRH still good. Yeah. So, I mean, all of this looks really favorable down here. I think something I am noticing is some backing here just above 3 kilometers. May or may not mess with those low-level mesos. I tend to hate backing. There's this huge debate in the weather community about, does veer back hurt tornado potential? I think it hurts not damaging, but large, strong tornado potential in any event. But I think especially if it's in that lowest 3 kilometers, so that's something to watch down there. That's just above 3 kilometers. It might affect things early on. And then as you get into the later parts of the day, I mean, the thing about the southern target, and this is I don't want to outwardly disagree with our forecast experts at the Storm Prediction Center, but I think the numbers are there. It looks like a very volatile environment. This one's contaminated too, though. So let's try to pull something. I don't want to pull it from there. What am I doing? I'm wanting to pull it from down here, more closer to that high risk. This is certainly a volatile environment, I mean, to be sure. But I just think as the day goes on, there's a few things happening. The temperature dew point spreads get a little higher down here. Your instability is not as high as further north earlier in the day, and that's because of the worse low-level lapse rates. They're not as strong. Your shear is actually less down here. Your SRH is roughly equivalent. Has some good turning here. But it kind of takes that S shape, which I'm not a huge fan of. I mean, you can certainly get tornadoes, but I don't feel like a strong S shape like that, or even an M shape like this one is it's not my preferred type. But I mean, oh my goodness, I've got windows popping up everywhere. Um, I just like I'm trying to find the right words because I don't want, if you're watching this from Arkansas and Mississippi, I don't want you thinking, oh, the Titans think that this is not going to be a big deal, because it has the potential. But I think a couple of things are working against it right now. First off is this storm mode. Like, these storms just explode over the next few hours, just crowded. You're going to need clean inflow down here because this environment is not enough to overcome very messy storm modes. It's just not enough for that. So you're going to need clean inflow. You do get some supercells, but these are just very crowded. It's kind of like the 24th. In the sense that most of the storms that day that went up did not rotate hard. They did not produce tornadoes, but some of them will possibly do that. You only need one for a day to be high impact. And I'm pulling this sounding. There's a little bit of a separation there with the LCL and LFC, which indicates some low level capping, which will also tend to work a little bit against these. Not fully, but a little bit. 67 3K. This is 348 0 to 1 kilometer helicity. So once you get toward the late afternoon, it starts improving. But I just think that these storm modes are going to be dangerous. Like, these are going up along the front. These are just ahead of the front. And as the front overtakes them, your tornado risk is going to certainly fall. I think, honestly, the tornado risk here, it's a high risk. It's certainly something to respect. But I'm honestly a little bit, I'm curious to see how this plays out, because there's not as much updraft helicity being generated down here by most models. We'll take a look at, let me pull up, I like the ARW actually a lot this year. It's been doing really good. So let's just pull it up to show it. And it kind of does the same thing. It just forms a lot of storms along the line here. And it's just very crowded. Lots of storms. And it tends to want to make this even more linear than I would expect. So if they do get more linear like that, like today is a day where there's enough low level wind shear that you're going to get tornadoes even along lines. Like, there's going to be tornadoes, both in the north target we just talked about and the south target. I mean, the north target also, you can just see it does that. Man, I've got very itchy trigger fingers today. My goodness. And you just get storms all the up and down through there. So, it's something that I just want to touch on. That I'm not as impressed with the southern target personally. I'm not the southern high risk area. I'm not as impressed with it, but I do think the potential is there. You get a supercell, dominant supercell, well formed with clean inflow, it's going to produce tornadoes. Some of those are going to be big to the south. I think the odds are lower that happens to the south than the north, but those odds are far from zero. And I just want to stress this again. I'm not saying the 24th is going to happen again, but the 24th was very much like this, where there was a line of storms. There was a messy storm, storms everywhere. But you had that rolling fort supercell quickly shape up as the environment improved, and it did horrific, devastating things. It was only one storm in that whole area that did something like that, but it was enough, right? So I just want to stress that. Like, it only takes one, and you may only get one or two in this region, but if they, I mean, it could be a big deal if they do. So, let's see. I'm thinking out loud what else I want to show on here. Another thing that I'm watching that's come out on Pivotal Weather is they finally have put the RRFS. I'm not going to be able to say that anytime soon, which is a new model that they hope will replace HRRR in the future. That's the context. It's basically a prototype. It will not run all the time, but you can see it's pretty bullish. This initial storm area doesn't produce a lot of updraft helicity. I'm pointing at the screen as if you can see where I'm pointing. It produces a lot of, not a lot here, but back here you can see it produces a lot of updraft helicity. I think honestly, the tornado threat, the big tornadoes, I mean, you're going to get some quick ones up here to the north, but I think the big tornadoes, I just feel like it's going to come on the southern end, southeast Iowa, northwest Illinois, like where that high risk is. I just feel like those are that's dangerous today. Like, I can't stress enough how, like, I'm worried about this area, and that's contaminated too. It's hard on high risk days because you do have a lot of storms trying to go up, but this is just like, you can see this is down here at this point. This is just like low LCLs, big time wind shear, very unstable low levels. I mean, it's all there. I mean, it just is. There's going to be a tornado. Some of them are going to be big up there today. And you can see down here to the south, it's trying to produce supercells. It's a little bit more crowded. I just pulled up a sounding. It's kind of contaminated, but not too bad. Similar story though. It's that this actually looks a lot better than the HRRR down there, but I just think it's a similar story. Very crowded storm modes, but I think like so if you get some of these, oh my goodness, touchpad, Mac touchpad, very sensitive. I probably need to turn that down sensitivity. But you can see if you get some of these rogue supercells forming out ahead of this line. Let's take a look at this environment here across western Mississippi. It's quite favorable to. I mean, it's not. This isn't. The 24th has 0 to 1 kilometer SRH closing in on 400. This is only closing in on 200. It's not the same environment as the 24th here in the mid afternoon, but you get after dark. I hate this slider on pivotal weather so much. I hate it so much. It's my enemy. But you get later in the day, certainly you get toward dark. It's you're closing in on 500. So yeah, just like the 24th, the environment not very impressive until it is impressive. Same here, 333. So it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So just going over the GFS. Actually, I mean, this is something I just wanted to look at this morning. This is just my more morbid curiosity. Not about even today. Let's just speed through here. I just want to see what it does. And it tries to do that thing Sunday. Monday I'm looking toward next week. This is just my personal, and then a cold front comes down. And then looks like we get a little bit of a break. And then maybe by late next week, and then a big break, big cold front, and then maybe by the 14th or 15th. So this might be it for severe weather for a bit. That's good news. Let's take a look at the HREF. This is my, if you've watched a lot of my videos, you know this is one of my favorite models. In fact, I used almost all of this, almost exclusively today. Oh man, which one do I pick? Is it the Midwest? Midwest can get both of them. Okay. I don't know which area to pick sometimes. And you can see the 500 millibar. The HREF, just if you haven't watched and you're curious, the HREF is a model that is very good at combining all these cams. We looked at two. This combines all of the big ones into one model. So it's kind of an ensemble. It takes away all the individual biases, and it's kind of a collective bias. And you can see this jet just kind of moves out over this area. And this is the favored area for storm formation. When you see a jet coming out like this area down here, up here on the top left, it's called, if you just look in the direction of the jet stream and you look top left, that's where a lot of storms are going to form, because you get this divergence, lots of divergence, air evacuating, that creates a ton of lift. And that's where that high risk is right there. And then you have another one down here, which is not typically as favored for storm formation, big time storms, but today is an exception to that rule. If you look at the low level jet today, I'm quickly going through these because I don't want to have this go much longer. You can see here, geez, my goodness, I have no idea what's going on. My cat is going absolutely just bonkers back there. You have some really strong low level winds. They only increase, as they always do, into the evening. Down here, they're 60 knots. Up here, they're 60 knots as well. But as you get those storms earlier in the day, that 22Z time frame, they're 60, 70 knots too. So absolutely ridiculous. I don't think we need to look at, well, let's look at cloud cover. I want to look at cloud cover. Let's take a look at cloud cover. It actually keeps the high risk pretty cloudy, but it does have some cloud breaks toward just a little bit after now, but it does keep it kind of cloudy. That's something to look at here on the southern high risk. The northern one here, just there's not much, and then it just forms those. But yeah, that should be fine. STP, let's do the probability of greater than 3, which is indicative of strong tornadoes being more possible. And it does have those. It has that environment. Here, there's less storms, fortunately, but there are less storms projected here. But this environment actually is pretty on the numbers at least, favorable for tornadoes. And down here, it's not as favorable. It just doesn't. It doesn't really. I noticed this morning when writing my forecast. The environment just, for many reasons, doesn't really go top end there, and that's just like something about that southern target. I don't know. I don't want to. I'm not saying nothing's going to happen, but I'm just saying that like something about it just doesn't sit well with me. And here you can see this is the updraft helicity probability of strong updraft helicity. That's actually 2 to 5. Let me see. No, you can't do 0 to 3. I thought you could do 0 to 3. I guess you can't. This is just indicative of possible supercells. Lots, up here, northern target, and then the southern high risk. It does indicate a risk moving through that high risk. If you're wondering what SPC might use for their outlooks, you can see how these tend to line up with those, and that's for good reason. This is a great tool. The HREF is a great tool for that. So overall, and I'm going to pull up radar scope really quick. Let's take a look. I'm going to kind of walk through what's going on right now very quickly. Present. I'm moving over here. Stop screen. Present. Share screen. Window. Share. There we go. Now we're up. We're up on we're up on radar scope right now. And so you can see as we move through these storms, this is all messy stuff. I wouldn't worry about that. It's this stuff forming just ahead of that cold front. That one's looking a little bit more supercellular down there. This one also has a little bit of that look, a little bit of that curved look. Let's actually pop this over to velocity, and yeah, it does certainly has that look, has that RFD coming through right there. So I'd watch that one for sure, short term. Yeah, I mean these aren't as impressive, but certainly. And then you go up here to the northern tornado watch. Oh, wow, that's not all what I expected. And let's see, this one certainly, when I talk about clean inflow, this storm would be pulling in air like this. That is as good of artwork. So you need this air to be devoid of storms to get a truly big time tornado threat. And right now that doesn't have it, but this storm could certainly ramp up once these storms get ingested. See what these do right here. This one, though, looks like it's kind of taken on that cyclonic shape a little bit, and it doesn't have as much down here. So those dominant storms with clean inflow, you want to watch this through the day. This is something to watch. You want to see the storms that have this clean air will have the greatest chance of producing big time tornadoes. So right now, those are ramping up very fast. And then you have these forming here in northern Missouri. Come on. There's just... By the way, radar hole. Like, we need a radar right there. We do. We need a radar right here somewhere, I think. And then these are forming. These will certainly pose a threat for tornadoes in the next couple hours as they move north and east. So this is going to be a big day. It's going to be an absolutely monster day. Let's see. And... congratulations, you've been banned. Trevor asking about Rock County, Texas. That's just like, it's looking more marginal. Let's actually pull up Texas. Let's talk about that southeasternmost area. And that's going to require a region change. And you can see what happens today is that these storms today, in Texas especially, they don't go as far southwest as the SPC outlook has, but that's only a marginal. There's a reason why that's a marginal, because it's kind of conditional. And the environment down in Texas is just a lot weaker. If you recall those photographs we were looking at earlier, longer, bigger curved, and these are just like, this is not nearly as much. This is a classic big hail kind of sounding. This is what you would look for to have some big hail. You have some big ML cape, some big 0 to 6 kilometer shear. So that looks like these look like they produce some pretty big hail. So yeah, my brain, HRRR was just broken on that run. The things working against this event, basically on other models, it would, yeah, I showed those. Yeah, I showed those. Let's see. I would actually disagree. I think instant lines happen quite a bit, actually. Maybe not a line, but instant crowd. It happens quite a bit, and I did not want to do that. Let's see. Definitely, we're going to get 18Z soundings. 100%. Probably get 18Z and 21Z today. Des Moines, yeah, you're in the big risk. That's a big risk today. Expect here, let's go over here. You are probably, I think you're under the tornado watch. You're under the PDS tornado watch as we speak, Des Moines. You're right here. These storms forming to your southwest. I'm on the wrong window. This is where I wish I had a multi-window setup. Here we go. These storms down here to your southwest Des Moines are going to be the ones to look out for, to be certain. Yeah, that cat went absolutely insane. And I just think that this, to finish this off, basically today is a day that you see once a year, typically once, twice, maybe 3 times on very active years. This is kind of that event. This is a big event that you see at the very outset of the year. A lot of times, March and April, you see these often. That's where they're very common. And I think that when you're looking at today, I think today is going to be a day where you see a bunch of tornadoes in this area. I think there's going to be a lot of red dots, and I think they're pretty sparse here in the middle. I think there will be probably a tornado or two. If you get a dominant supercell, you're going to see like a line of red dots somewhere across there. And then down here to the south, it depends on storm evolution and storm mode. But I think if you get some of those rogue supercells, you'll see a collection of tornadoes in this high risk as well. So it's a big day. It's a very volatile day. It's a day that you want to, if you live in these areas, you live in anywhere from Des Moines to Peoria, talking Springfield, Illinois, Memphis, Tennessee, Little Rock, Arkansas, Jackson, Tennessee. You live in any of these areas surrounding that as well, have a source of weather information today. I recommend apps that send warnings immediately to your phone. There's a lot of great ones out there, Climb My Radar, etc., that are just great at doing that. I personally recommend Climb for that as of right now. And then also make sure your emergency alerts are on your phone. Don't turn those off. They're super important because when you get those, they're quite intrusive. I mean, loud, etc. You're not going to be able to mistake that there is a tornado warning ongoing. And then I would recommend, other than that, staying tuned to your local weather sources. Most likely that is the National Weather Service. We're going to do some radar updates through the day, but we're not going to be doing like warning live view stuff. But if you live in any of these county warning areas, follow your National Weather Service. Set tweet alerts on for them if you're on Twitter or Facebook alerts. And yeah, stay safe out there. Brandon Sullivan, Titan Brandon Sullivan, is up here in the northern high risk today. Hopefully I get off the storm chasing IL and I'm able to chase by mid-April. And I mean, that's going to happen. But I'm looking forward from a scientific, from a meteorological perspective to see how today evolves. And I say looking forward in the sense that I'm fascinated with weather. I'm fascinated with how these things evolve and how these happen. Like, I'm intellectually curious. But I'm not looking forward to what might be potential high human impacts. So my last plug today is, if you do live in any of these areas, especially the moderate risk, please pay attention to the weather today. Please pay attention to the weather, because it's going to be a big day. It's going to be a busy day. There's severe weather is certain. Tornadoes are certain. It's all going to happen. So just be paying attention. And with that said, thanks for watching. I hope first off, this was educational, informational, etc. But I also hope that you stay safe today. And I hope that we can keep these out of populated areas today and the rest of the year. So with that said, remember, weather's there for everybody, includes you. And I hope that if you are watching this from home, you watch out, you tune into some of the Titan social media posts. We'll have some like radar analysis, situational analysis every 3 hours or so. And yeah, we'll see you next time.